Hello friends, welcome back. So in my previous video, I already covered all the database operation related functions inside Python where you can interact with MongoDB and create data, update data and all do all types of data operations using Python. Okay. So now in this video, we will create a front-end interface where you can use to create a table view and populate the data, MongoDB data inside that table view. So first we'll see the code here. So right now I just have a main file which is like python mongo.py, and inside that I just load the UI which I created inside Qt. I will just show you here. Okay, so this is my main.ui file and nothing there. This is just a main window, and in that main window I just put one frame, and inside that I put a table view, and then I use just a frame with these two label, and I will just correct this because this is not tree view, this is a table. Yes, exactly, this is a table view, not tree view. Okay, so one thing I want to mention here, when I was planning this video series, that time I was just wondering, like, I have a MongoDB database and just populate the MongoDB data into a Qt interface, and that's it, wrap this video series. Then I realized, well, so the first option I pick is tree widget. So tree widget is something like this. We have this. So tree widget, I already did a lot of videos related to tree widget. So I found like maybe I should use something else this time, so you guys will have better understanding. Then I tried to pick table widget, and that table widget, when I was trying to do that, I found that is pretty straightforward, and they are not that much useful. That actually there are few features like inline editing, update data, and create a model, so you can actually populate multiple widgets in same time. That is not possible inside widgets, and that's where the views actually come in the picture. So then I open TableView, and this is my first application with TableView. So before that I haven't used TableView. I use tree view, I use list view, but TableView I haven't used. So this is my first TableView application. So here I learned a lot of things, and I don't want to forget those. Before that, I want to make a good video about that. So even in future, if I want to create a table view based application, so I can follow my own tutorial to create the table view based app. And one important thing which I want to mention here is the QTableView with PySide or PyQt. There are very few information available on internet, so I found very like it's not easy to actually go and get some good examples of the QTableView, and so that's why it take me little time to actually find out some good examples and compile all the code into one video. So at the end you will have a proper example of how you can actually build a application, Python application with QTableView with a custom QAbstractTableModel. Okay, so in beginning it might be little confusing for you, but in the end you will get the idea about why I decided to use TableView instead of table widget. Okay, so here we have just a table view. Let's just save that and then go back to our GUI, and in here I just create build UI, and then if I run this, it will just show me this empty table view. Yes, table view. Okay, So now in this video, we will actually populate this table view with the MongoDB data. So for that, I want to keep that code separate into the libraries, because since we are using a view, so that means it is a model view controller thing that we're gonna use. So we will use our models separately. So for that, I created inside library, I created a custom model file, and in that custom model file will start with our custom model. So I already built this application before and all the code is already there. So what I will do, I will take my entire codes and replace here, and from the top to bottom I will go through each and every line, and I will explain you why I write this and what is the use of that particular line. Okay, so let's start here. So first thing is you need to import all the libraries. Since I'm using PySide, so that's why from PySide I'm importing Qt widget, Qt core and Qt GUI. If you are using PyQt5, then also you can follow this. If you are using PyQt4, I think then there are few things which is changed, but I'm not sure that it will work or not. But for PyQt5 and PySide 2, good to go. And I would recommend go with PySide 2, it's very good. Okay, so since we are going to get the data from our database, so that's why I already created a database operation inside my lib. So then this lib I imported from my so this database operation I imported from my lib package. So this is our application level package. Okay, so we start with a class, and there I just put the name of my model, whatever model name I want to keep. And this there you need to actually provide just add a class here which is QAbstractTableModel, and we'll take this into our this custom class. So what will happen then, you need to provide a you need to create a init function that is the constructor of your class, and there we need to provide the data. So this is the important first main argument for this model. So wherever you want to call this model, you need to provide this data, and later we actually take this data and put into a global variable. So throughout this entire class, we can actually reuse this data in a lot of other places. So that's why whatever data you are getting, so for example you are getting a JSON data, you just take that data here and just put into a global variable, and then we'll use it. Okay, then there is a columns that we will use columns for multiple places here, and so that's why I use columns. And there what here I'm doing is, since I know that the data which I'm getting is coming from MongoDB database, and MongoDB data is coming in JSON object format, and JSON object is having like keys and value. So I know that all the keys will be the column headers. So that's why to make it dynamic, I use this line here. So here what I'm using is I'm getting first I take the first object of my list of the data, and then I take all the keys of the data, and then I provide it into the column self.column. So that means this is a dynamic list, that's it, nothing else. Okay, then this function flags comes in the in this class, and the reason why I use flag is I want to make few columns non-editable and few columns editable, and there is one column where I need decorator, where I want to show some pictures. So these kind of thing that you can control through flags. So if you see index.column, if the index is greater than 0, that means the 0th index is something very special. That is, I don't want that first column should be added by anyone, because I will show you in my final app. Okay, where is my final app? Right. Yes, so this make better understanding side by side. So guys, this is my 0th index and 0th column. So column at 0, and this is the ID of my object, and I don't want end user to mess around with that. So that's why this is non-editable, and rest of the thing is editable. So you double click, you will see that stuff, right? So that's why I use this. If the column is more, if the index of the column is more than 0, then only this is editable, enable, selectable, otherwise it is not. Right, so the second thing is I want the column 1 to be a picture or a decorative mode, and so that is actually, if you see 0, 1, and here you see we have these pictures here, right? So that's why I use this. So next thing is the row count. Okay, so this is it for the flags, and that's why with that reason you can actually use that. There are many other flags, you can actually explore that, but in my case I found these are the important ones, so that's why I use these. Okay, row count, it's very important and mandatory to create this abstract table model class, and there in this model, row count is like how many rows you have, and this is like basically the user data we are providing in a list. Since all MongoDB data, we are using a find function, and which is this, I will show you here. Get multiple data, collection.find. So collection.find is actually return the data in a list format. Basically it is by default it's not providing a list, it's providing some weird format, whatever it is, but here I convert that data into list, and here you can see that list data. So we are damn sure that we are getting a data in a list format. So that's why how many like data inside that list, how many objects in that list, we will just take the length and provide as a row count. So with that we will get this row count number dynamically. Then we have column count. So how many columns you have, and column count we can easily get because we already created columns here, and this is basically number of keys, how many number of keys you have. So that's why the length of the column we are providing in the column count. So with that, both are dynamic. Header data. Header data is something which is useful to create the titles. Where we use that, I will show you here. So you see here the ID, photo, name, all these things are actually coming, you can call it headers. So this is table headers, and if you want to make this header, that means you just take the columns, because since we already have columns, and we are using title here because the data which we are getting is lowercase, but you know, it looks good if it is in title mode. So if you just put title, it just convert that string first letter to capital letter. That's why we use that. It looks good. That's why there is no other reason to use title here. That's it. Maybe you can use totally upper, to everything in the header will be in upper cases. Then there is an important function here, which is data, and in data is responsible to display your data. So that's why it is required 2 arguments here, which is index and role. Basically these arguments contain very important information. So here you see the row, and the row is basically from that index. Since you have the index, so you can get the index.row. And remember, index.row will not provide you the entire row. It will just provide you the number of the index. So again, just open that our application here. So if I see this, what is the index of this? So index of this one is actually 1. So because this row index is 1, so what will be this? 2. What will be this? 0. So this is 0 index, but the column, the row index is 0, column index is 0, 1, 2, 2. So this will be 2. So here you can see index.column. So what will happen, like basically with that we will get the rows and column. And here what I'm saying is, if my index.column is equal to 1, so that means we need to do some special operation if it is 1. So what is actually 1 here? So the 1 is, wait, let me just quickly run that. Okay, so 0, 1, and 1 is actually our photo column, and in that photo column we want to display picture. So if you want to display picture, then you need to return a data in a pixmap format. Okay, so we'll see that. So if it is 1, then first we get the selected row, and with that actually you can get the selected row data, and from that selected row I want to get the particular photo information from the data, and then we'll create a new image widget. You can say that we can create a new qtgui.qimage, and in that image we will load from data. And why I use load from data? Because when you save the image, right? Okay, then go back to this, and let's say if you want to add a image here, right? Let's just double click here, and double click will open a Q file dialog, and in that Q file dialog you can select the image. And then if you select any image here, okay, if you select any image here and if you hit open, so it is not just providing a link of that file to the file system. So it's like a your photo path blah 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 .jpeg. It is not like that. What this is doing is we are taking this entire file, the JPEG file, we convert that data into binary, and then we store that binary data into our database. So this time we are reading that same binary data from our database, because this file is not coming from your local system. So maybe next time if you delete from your local system, it's not a problem. So reading from path is a not good way to actually just display the image. Obviously you can just display from a path from here, but if it is, let's say, available in your computer, but what if you share this with some other persons, so then it will not available. So that's why I use load from data, because this image data is a binary data into our database. And I will show you here. Since you see this is the binary data, the photo is a binary data here, right? Okay, let's just see in a list, see some weird number or some data here. Okay, so then we take that, we create a icon, and in that icon we add a pixmap, and that pixmap is that image. Okay, you just copy paste this code and you are good to go. Rest, if the Qt core is rest is all the strings, so all the name, first name, last name, whatever, then as it is just display. Here I just go with a try except. The reason is if there is any key error, then just return none, because sometimes since in MongoDB it doesn't matter that you have same data every time. So for example, here we have ID, photo name. If we create a new document, and here if let's say I want to create, let's say hello and then world. Okay, and if I insert that, so MongoDB will not say, hey, what you are typing. No, it is not available, since this is a like object kind of information that we can save, a JSON we can save. So that can be different. The key and value can be different in the object. So it is not mandatory that you have to follow that. And that's the beauty of this entire database. But this actually break our rule here, because since the photo and name is required here, because that is in the header, but hello is not there. So, and in this data we don't have photo and name exist. So then if you don't put this key error exception, then your application will break. So this is to display the data, right? Now how do you gonna set the data? And this set data is very important for editing of your data. So right now, if you want to see like what editing, I mean what is the editing is, let's say first your index should be valid, and then we'll get the selected row, so where we are, and selected column, and then we are actually from the selected row and selected column we are providing the value, because maybe then only, okay, let me just show you here. So right now you see there is no name here, and let me just add this name here, let's say. Okay, so since we provided Audio Technica, so when we double click here, this is actually a value, and the name here is actually our column. So what we are saying here, hey, in my selected row, in my selected column, this is the value that you should add. Okay, and then since we are just updating this dictionary here right now, in our updating our data here, we are sending this same data here to update the existing, because since we get the selected row, and from selected row we have the ID. So with that we have, since we have the ID, then, and we already updated our selected row. So selected row is a dictionary again, and then that dictionary we updated by, and we have the ID, we have the selected row dictionary, and just send this data to the database operation. And that's why we have here database operation, update existing. Update existing will update this data into the database. When it is updated, it will directly load into your model without refresh. Okay, then we'll come to the insert row. So insert row function is when we want to create a new row inside our where is that, QTableModel, and insert row. Okay, so right now if I want to add a new row, I can right click here, add new data, and that will add a empty row, and this function is actually doing this. So I can add new something like HP, and I can double click here, and that will actually open this to add a image. So I can add something like this, new image there. So with that, you see this insert image is very useful. So you can, here if I go through the breakdown of this function, where actually we are providing a empty data into so before when we are creating a new row, that means a empty dictionary we should provide. And since if you go closer to this, what is going on here is, since we know the columns, so in our columns we have something like first name, last name, photo, something like that. We will take all those columns, but we will remove the ID, because ID will automatically generate for the new one. So that's why this is this line where what I'm saying is, hey, from my create a new dictionary with key and none. So all values should be none. For key, that means like all the keys inside columns, take everything. If not key equal ID, that means I want to ignore the underscore ID to to create a new dictionary from a list. So basically I have a list, from that list I want to create a dictionary, and that's what I'm doing here in this line, right? So then we're just providing, inserting a data into our database, and the new data, we append the new data, which is like our empty data here, and we increase the count. That's it, and you're done with the insert row. Your logic might be different from mine, but I would like to give you a basic understanding and how this example application working, and you can actually modify this. You can use it whatever you want. Take it from my GitHub repository, this entire code. Remove row is also like similar to the insert row. As you can see, there are few functions like begin insert row and end insert row is actually here. We have begin remove rows and end remove rows, and in between I have my logics where actually I'm getting the object ID and then getting the object ID from the selected row, and then remove the data and pop. So I use the user data dot pop row ID. So based on the row ID, I just remove from my data, and that's why let's just see the removing option. So let me just remove this, and it's deleting. Remove. Okay, then we have two other classes here, and these classes are very interesting. So the first one is profile picture delegate, and this delegate is responsible to open a Q file dialog on click on a particular column. So if I go there, I close that app. All right, so here we have, if I click here, double click here, this is actually opening a Q file dialog to update or edit an image. But if I double click here, it's actually not opening a Q file dialog. It's just inline editing can be done through double click. And that's why if you want to achieve that, you should use, you can create a new delegate and then assign this delegate to your table view. And you can use it with other views also, like tree view and list view. Then the final one, which is the inline editing delegate, and this is where I would demonstrate here what this delegate. So if these three are actually table view, and this table view I added all my delegates here. Others I did not add any delegates. So let me just double click here. Even I double click here, I see this photo is editable here, and as you can see that it's straightforward update our database also. So on double click, this is treating as a normal line edit, right? So let's just, and if I double click here, this is actually opening this. So let me just get back those images there. So add, and then something like app. Okay, so remember, now we just go back to the inline edit delegates, and in the inline edit delegates is, if I double click here, I see my text is selected here. It's not just completely wiped off, but here if I do the inline edit, you see my text is gone. And to keep the text into this line edit, to edit that, we have to use this inline edit delegate, and with that you are able to edit inline into your application. So let's just create new. Perfect. We have this empty one, just remove this. So we just remove that. Okay. So guys, with that we have this all custom model, and this is it for this entire video about custom model. So with that you can create your own custom model. So in our next video we will put this custom model into our tree view, and we'll see how this works. Okay. So just follow me in my next video where we'll see and we'll wrap this entire video series. All right, I will see you in my next video.